So I find myself pondering this kind of theory that I've probably been kicking around for a while, but it became clear to me last night in a conversation on the podcast with one of my good friends. Um, and I don't even know if I would call it a theory so much as like a dilemma or I don't know. It's maybe just an aspect of human nature that I'm not sure what to do with. The idea is I've spoken to a bunch of people now, and there's a handful or so that seem to have this what you could view as and may even seem like a derogatory statement, but I don't intend it to be like this simplistic view of life. Um, Whether that be because in many cases they're super authentic and genuine, and that's something that's always been relatively natural for them. And I think maybe that's more of like a manifestation of it or a symptom of it. Whereas really what it is, and again, I can't help but say this without thinking it sounds somewhat derogatory, but that's probably just because of my value system. They never really thought that deeply about it. They never really spent a ton of time questioning, thinking, grappling in their own heads. And in many ways, that's a good thing, right? Like, I'm somebody who spent most of my life thinking and grappling about these types of things. And I don't know that that's necessarily good. I mean, if you put a gun to my head right now, I'd probably say it's good. But at the same time, I can't help but admit that I may only say that because that's what I know and that's what I do. So naturally, it feels like it's better, it's right, it's what I'm doing, right? We do what we want to do. But for some of these people, they don't. They don't. They see the world very simply, very clearly. This is what I want out of life. If I go ahead and achieve this, things will be pretty good. And on the one side of that coin, that fascinates me. It um, it's attractive to me. It's so compelling to me because there's beauty in the simplicity of it. And it's I don't want to say ignorance is bliss, although that phrase probably does apply to a bit. But there's something so simple and so efficient in it. If the goal is happiness and they seem happy, well then what the fuck are we doing? That's the game, right? Now, the other side of that coin though is how do you know? To the spirit of Socrates, the unexamined life isn't worth living. How do you know? How do you know there's not a happier path? How do you know there's not more you should be doing? How do you know you shouldn't be questioning and grappling with more things? Specifically, in this conversation I had last night, a couple different ideas came up, one of which was like the sentiment of like, I don't know, the person speaking, I don't know if I'm doing enough to help my community. I don't know if I should be out there doing more protesting, marching, giving back, whatever it might be. Like there's a part of me that feels like I should be doing more of that. But he's not. That's not something he's doing. And I can't help but wonder is the reason why they're not doing that is because of this simplistic approach to life. When you don't challenge, when you don't grapple, when you don't force yourself to be like, I don't know, maybe it is this way, maybe I should be doing that, does that inhibit you from doing things that aren't very clearly and simply placed in your path for how you view the world, right? To reduce it down far too simply, if having a good job, making a good living, having a spouse or a partner that you love, having a nice house, living comfortably is the simple view for you of what happiness is, well, why would you ever worry about social issues and trying to give back? Mathematically, logically, like what incentive do you have to do that? Particularly if it's all very clear to you and you just follow that path. You're not in the regular practice of self-reflection and questioning and doubting and grappling. So why would you ever think that? Why would you ever get there? And I don't know what to make of that, right? Because so that's the two sides of that coin. The other coin is, right, so you say, okay, so the better way to be is you have to grapple, you have to question, you have to let these external influences, because that's a lot of it, right? These external pressures that aren't natural to you, which arguably aren't natural to human behavior. Human behavior is such as, I just do me, right? That's what authenticity is. I figure out what matters to me, and I do that. So The right way to go is to grapple more, to question more. That's what's going to allow you to give more to the greater good, to think more about we versus I. And I think, at least in today's culture, objectively, a lot of people would say, yeah, that's got to be the goal. That's going to help more people. That's going to benefit more people. It's going to allow you to have more clarity. In Socrates' view, it makes your life worth living because you've challenged, you've questioned, you've really put it to the test and done the work to make sure you're approaching life the right way. You identified maybe there's ways for you to be even happier. There's things that you would have never even thought of that bring you so much more value and joy in life. All good stuff, right? But there's another side to that coin too. The other side to that coin is you're easily influenced, or more easily influenced. In my case, you're a people pleaser. You worry too much about what other people think. It's unnatural for you to live authentically, to live genuinely. It's a constant grapple and struggle to be happy with the current moment because you're always thinking about, should there be more? Should I be doing something else? Am I doing enough? So that's the dilemma. Is one of those right or wrong? Is there a middle ground to be struck? Am I even viewing it right? I don't know. But the more I talk to people, the more I start to see people falling into one of these two camps. And I genuinely can't say if one is better or not. Probably because it depends on what your objective in life is. It depends on what your value system is. If the value is just happiness, maybe one is right, maybe the other isn't. If your value is to give back and help others, maybe one is right, maybe one isn't. But even that, I don't even think if you frame it under those two potential objectives or meaning of life, it's a clear answer. Because if happiness is the goal, there's an argument to be said, the more you question, the more you examine, you have a better chance to achieving more happiness. There's also something to be said for the idea of if you're authentic, if you're genuine and true to yourself, that's actually the best way to help society. It's all this other noise and bullshit that gets in the way and worrying about what other people think and virtue signaling or acting the way you think you're supposed to act. That leads to so much stress and tension and angst that causes a lot of problems we have in the world. Again, I don't know. I find myself stuck in this dilemma trying to figure out if there is a right approach, and if there is, which one it is.